everybody, and welcome again to the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County's bi-weekly Facebook Live Q&A at noon. My name is Erica Rice, and I'm an education coordinator here at the Alzheimer's Society. I hope you all enjoyed the beautiful weekend. I know I got out and walked a lot of trails with my dog out there and getting some fresh air, so I hope you got a chance to do that as well. I hope some people are starting to join us. If you're out there and watching, if you want to let me know, maybe send a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Again, my name is Erica. I'm an education coordinator at the Alzheimer's Society. And our topic today is activities for people who are living with dementia. And, you know, right now this is a big issue. It's always been a big issue. I've been doing the education here at the Society for about 8 years, and this is something that comes up regularly with our family, our care partners. How do I keep my family member engaged and plan activities? And right now with COVID, it's winter, there's COVID, you know, lots of our activities are not running. We're stuck in the house, so how do we manage this? So people are really struggling. So I thought I would talk about that a little bit today. I'm also going to talk about some of the programs that the Alzheimer's Society is running. There's a really exciting program actually starting next week, and there's still time to register for that. So I'm going to keep that till the end of the broadcast so that you keep watching, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that program. So first I want to talk a little bit about activities though, generally speaking, and I'm not going to talk so much about, you know, try this activity and try that activity. I think when we're talking about people living with dementia, it's more about things that as a care partner we need to consider, because the activities themselves are really no different than activities we would normally do. It's how do we adapt those activities, and how do we approach our interaction with the person that we're supporting, whether it's a family member or a friend, or maybe if you're in a professional role, maybe it's somebody that you're supporting professionally. So there's a few things to consider. First of all is when somebody's living with dementia, they are having changing abilities. They have a disease that's impacting their brain, and that's resulting in lots of different changes that can impact how they go about their day-to-day, whether it's their just activities you normally do in a day, like doing your chores, working in the kitchen, or some of the activities that normally we enjoy doing, our leisure activities, maybe things like reading and walking and, you know, playing a musical instrument, or all the kinds of things that we enjoy doing. So all of this can be impacted when you're living with brain change, and that's really what we're talking about when somebody's living with dementia. So when you think about those brain changes, one of the biggest ones that we talk about is apathy. So a lot of people living with dementia, one of the things that will change is they will become apathetic. And what I mean by that is that normally when we have an idea of something we want to do, let's say you know, it's a Saturday and I want some comfort food, maybe I want to go and bake some muffins, I've got some blueberries in my fridge. My brain will have this thought of something that I want to do, and it will be able to get started on that thought, think about, well, if I want to bake these blueberry muffins, what do I need in order to do that? And I'll go and find all the ingredients, and I'll find my recipe, and I'll follow through a recipe. My brain's able to go through all of those steps. When somebody's living with dementia, they may not be able to go through all those steps. Their brain may not be able to take the thought and actually put it into action. So they need more support in order to do these activities. And as a care partner, this is really what we're talking about, is how do you support somebody in order to do the activities. So the good news is that the activities themselves don't have to be anything really complicated. It's how do you best support the person to be successful in those activities. So the first thing I want you to consider is the person's strengths. We often, when somebody's living with a life-limiting illness, we focus a lot on what is missing, what has changed, what they've lost, and certainly when somebody's living with dementia. And if it's a family member or a friend, someone you've known a long time, then that can really be what you're considering. You know, this is my parent, I've known them my entire life. And you're thinking about what they used to be able to do and focusing on that and paying attention to what they've lost rather than what they're still able to do. So I'd like to first just get you to start thinking about who is this person and what are they able to do now? What are their strengths, and how can you use those strengths so that they can be successful? That's a key piece. be successful in the activities that they're doing. We don't want somebody to fail, because none of us likes to fail when we're doing an activity. We want to feel good. We want to feel like this is something that I'm good at, something that I can accomplish. So really pay attention to what is this person's strengths and how can I make use of those strengths. And so that can take some flexibility. You know, sometimes, especially as a family member, when we know what this person used to be able to do, we can come in with an agenda of our own. We want to do this activity and this is the end result I want to see. And it may not work that way. So it's learning to be flexible and knowing that sometimes we have to leave our agenda at the door. You need to be prepared for the activities, but let the person living with dementia lead the way and be flexible that it might go in a different direction than what you had planned it to go in. And that's okay, because really the end result is not it's not the end result that matters, it's the process of getting to the end result. And if you're doing it together, it's about the relationship while you're doing the activity more so than actually accomplishing the activity. So consider that, you know, be flexible and take your cues from the person living with dementia. I also want you to consider the person's interests, because we all like to do different things. There's no one-size-fits-all answer that works for everybody. And this is certainly for the rec teams in long-term care. You know, it's being really creative, because an activity that somebody loves to do is not going to fit another person in the same home. So we really have to think about what are the interests of the individual and how can we use that to create some activities that they really enjoy doing. So if you're supporting a family member or friend, think about that. What are their interests? What kind of music do they like? What kind of activities do they enjoy doing? Another thing to consider that's a strength in dementia is procedural memory skills. So that's something that lasts a longer period of time. So when you think about this person, what have they always done in their life? And how can you use those skills in order to create activities for them? And so I'll give you an example. We'll go back to making those blueberry muffins that I mentioned at the beginning. So if somebody has always loved to be in the kitchen doing baking, and there's lots of people I know who are like that, myself included, but now dementia's in the picture and I might not be able to have the idea that I want to go make those blueberry muffins and go find all of the ingredients that I need in order to make them and know how to follow the recipe through in order to accomplish that activity. So if you are supporting somebody in this case, you might put all the ingredients out on the counter and then go to the person and say, you know what, I really would love to make some blueberry muffins today. And I would love it if you would come and help me. Would you come and help me make these muffins? Part of this is the communication skills. It's about how do you invite somebody into the activity, and sometimes that requires a bit of creativity as well. But saying, would you come and, you know, help me do this? Instead of saying, you know what, you need to start doing some activities and I'm going to help you because, you know, you have some changes and you need my help. That's a very different message. So sometimes it's just being careful about how we're communicating the activity that we want to do. But by putting out the ingredients to make those muffins, we are actually supporting the communication. When somebody's living with dementia, verbal language skills start to change. So if you're giving a lot of verbal directions to someone, they might struggle to understand exactly what you mean and how to follow through on those directions. But if you put those ingredients out and now they have a visual cue, and you put out the mixing bowls and so on, now they see that and they can make a bigger connection to what it is you're trying to get them to do. So you're supporting the verbal directions with the visual cueing, and that will allow them to be more successful. So consider, if you're looking for an activity for the person, it's their interest, it's a procedural memory skill, but also how can you provide some visual cueing to them to help them and not just rely on the verbal instructions. So that's a really important piece. So we want to, as I said, want to use those procedural memory skills. That's the strength. And I've got an interesting story to tell you. There's a documentary that we screened a number of years ago, and it was a gentleman, his name is Chris Wynn, and he did a documentary of his relationship with his dad. And in this documentary, he was sharing the story about how he wanted to spend some time with his dad. So he and his dad went golfing. His dad, that's a procedural memory skill. His dad had been a golfer all his life. And so Chris thought, well, we'll go golfing and spend this time together. But when they got off to the golf green and they're at the tee, and he's trying to give his dad verbal instructions of, which iron to take and what to do, and his dad wasn't really connecting with it. And it can be easy in that moment to say, well, this isn't going to go well, and I'm not, let's just leave it. But Chris gave his dad the golf club in his hand, and as soon as he had it in his hand, that's where the procedural memory skills kick in. As soon as he had it in his hand, then he was off and going, and they could play the golf. So sometimes it is just thinking about how can we do this a little bit differently. Okay, so some modifications. Like I said, we want to really support the communication. You want to show as well as tell. So try to support the verbal with as much visual cueing as you can. Communication, the value of how you deliver the message. If you're going to say, you've been sitting there all day and we need to get you up and active because this isn't good for you, and let's, all of that is true. But for some people, and I know I'm thinking, like my mom would be one of these for sure. She'd say, don't you tell me what to do. I'm your mother and I tell you what to do kind of message. And then she'd get her back up and it wouldn't go so well. So thinking about that person and their personality, what's going to be the message that gets them engaged with you? Maybe it is, I was looking through the photo albums the other day and, I really enjoyed those pictures from when we were a kid. Would you come and share them with you? I'd like to, let's go through them together. Or making those muffins again. I'm thinking about, I would love to make these muffins and do you want to come and help me? That invitation often is a little bit more successful. And the other modification is change your expectations. And I know I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but when we come to the activity with an end goal in mind, so we have an agenda, sometimes it ends up being frustration for both the person living with dementia, but also for ourselves as the care partner. So it's learning to let that go and come to it prepared with some ideas of things that you can do that match their interests and match their skill level, procedural memory skills and all of that, but also be prepared that it might not go the way that you want it to go, and that's okay. It might go better tomorrow. That's one thing about dementia, is one day can be very different from the next day. So consider that. So some ideas that you might want to consider, just some, samples of ideas. If somebody has always been a gardener, they love gardening, this is a great time to, I know at, the dollar store, they have lots of those peat pots to start off seedlings and little in-house greenhouses. Doing those kind of activities might be really great. Lots of people talk about folding laundry, and I know that sounds like not exciting at all, but thinking about those procedural memory skills, how much laundry have we folded in our life? It can be one of those things that our brain just knows how to do. So even later in the disease, somebody can feel like they're successful. That's a big piece. I can feel successful doing this. I feel like I'm being helpful. I feel like I'm doing things. So for those of us without dementia, we might look at that activity and say, well, why would we want to do that? But for the person living with dementia, if it allows them to feel like they're contributing and they're successful, that's really important. So just something like that can be an easy activity, depending on where the person is in the disease. Like earlier in the disease, that might not be a great activity to introduce, but later on, it might be a good one. And I just want to mention, I mentioned a little bit about looking at photos, which can be really great to reminisce. So with dementia, people often go further back in their life and they recall older memories. So pulling out photos from that point in their life where they're recalling memories from can be a great activity to do together. One thing I would like to say though is often we go, do you remember when? Which they might remember when, but this is a disease that impacts memory. So if they don't remember that shared memory, it can cause a bit of, you're testing me and frustrations. I once saw an interview with a woman with Alzheimer's disease, and I really liked the way that she put it. She said, when my husband wants to, reminisce about a shared memory with me, instead of saying, remember when, he'll start off by saying, he'll just give me more information. He'll say, I'll remember when we did this. And he starts giving a lot of details and what she calls a word picture. He starts creating a word picture, and if it sparks that memory, I then enter into that word picture with him and join him in that memory. but sometimes it doesn't spark the memory, but I just enjoy listening to them. It's like listening to a story that's being told. So if you're reminiscing shared memories, give that a try. Instead of saying, do you remember when? Just start providing details of that shared memory, and you might be surprised what comes out. But again, it's being flexible and realizing if your family member or friend doesn't enter into that shared memory today, that's okay. They might just enjoy listening to you talk about it. So if you're looking for some more ideas, the North Simcoe Muskoka Specialized Geriatric Services, last spring when COVID started, they created a great resource. It's like an activity toolkit, has lots of actual activities with the supplies needed to do the activity. I have that resource, and if you are interested, you can, probably the easiest thing for you to do is to message us here on the Facebook site, and I'll get in touch with you and find the best way to get that resource to you. So each page has a different activity. There's lots of great ideas. Now for our programs. So the Alzheimer's Society of Simcoe County has a number of different programs. I'll start off with our music programs. Music is often a great activity to connect with people living with dementia, but again, everybody's unique. So for some people, music doesn't work that well, and for others, it's amazing. We do have a couple different programs. We're actually wrapping up one that's called Musical Memories. We got some funding for this program from the Aurelia Communities Foundation, and the Simcoe County Music Therapy Services has been running this program. It's been so popular that we are hoping to find funding so that we can continue with the program, because it's been really great getting people engaged on a weekly basis with music. We also have the Music Project, which is the Alzheimer's Society provides personalized MP3 players that clip on to the shirt. But we do an interview with the family to find out what kind of music does this person really enjoy listening to. And they put a personalized playlist on this MP3 player, and it's provided free of charge to our clients. So again, just message us if you're interested in that program. It's called the Music Project. Now, the one I was mentioning at the very top of this broadcast is a new program that is launching next week, and it's called Creative Connections. It's in partnership with Quest Art, which is based in Midland, but you don't have to live in Midland in order to participate in this program. But it's a 6-week art program, so we ship you all the materials you need to do the art projects, and every week there'll be a different project. You'll have all the materials ahead of time. It is going to be virtual on Zoom. It's Tuesday mornings. So if you're interested in that, again, maybe just message us, I can't say that today, message us, and we can provide you the information of how to get registered for the Creative Connections program. And then we have our core program, which is Minds in Motion, and this runs on an ongoing basis. There are cognitive games that are part of this. Everything's done virtually still because of COVID, but the cognitive games are 8-week sessions. They happen once a week, and Terrell, who's our Minds in Motion coordinator, does a lot of fun things like Family Feud and different trivia games and so on. You do need to register for the 8-week series, but they continue like they're ongoing. So when one 8-week session finishes, another one begins. But there are drop-in sessions as well. So there's a weekly exercise session and a weekly coffee group that just gets together and chat. So those are options as well, just to get engaged with other people, because I know right now it's hard. We're very isolated right now. So this is opportunities to connect with others. So, give us a comment or message us. I'll give you our phone number. So our phone number, main office line is 705-722-1066. So you can always call us for more information, and we'll get that information to you. Some other ideas, travel videos on YouTube seem to be really popular. We like the ones by Rick Steves. So getting online, and because we can't travel in person, but we can see a lot of great places in the world with those travel videos. And we found that the YMCA in the GTA actually has a great site. It's called Bright Spot, and it's online activities for older adults. They have lots of really cool things going on right now, so you might want to check that out. Again, that's the GTA YMCA. So basically those are all different things to think about. You can always contact us again. Our number is 705-722-1066, or send a message here in our Facebook page. If you have any questions, our next Facebook Live will be on Monday, March the 8th. I don't have a topic for that one yet, so if you have something that you want me to talk about, please just let me know, send a message. I'm always looking for ideas of things to talk about. We do the Facebook Live broadcast every second Monday at noon, so please send them my way. I'd be happy to talk about it. All right, thanks everybody, and have a great day.